Good evening. I would like to call the Peoria Public Schools District 150 Board of Education meeting for March 9th, 2015 to order. Would you please call the roll?
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Here. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to start out with our awards and recognition tonight, which is recognition of this month's Peoria's finest teacher, Mr. Atkins-Dutro. I almost said Miss Myers before I looked up.
Thank you. Appreciate it, President Wolfmeyer. Jeff Atkins-Dutro, President of the Peoria Federation of Teachers. I'm actually standing in for Lana Myers, our Vice President, who usually does the award. Peoria's Finest Teacher is a monthly recognition for teachers who go above and beyond, who exemplify best practices in teaching, and who reach out to the community and parents in order to involve them in our schools. Teachers in this district work hard to serve our children, and we appreciate the Board of Education giving us the opportunity to showcase our teachers. We would also like to thank the City of Peoria for recognizing all of our teachers of the month at their City Council meeting in May. Thank you to our winner's principal, Ms. Foreman, and faculty, family, and friends who are here in support of this month's winner, nominated by Leslie Downage, Heidi Dahl of Von Steuben. Congratulations, Heidi. If y'all would like to come on up.
If it's okay with everyone, I'm just going to read the nomination letter very quickly. It says, "Why are you submitting this, teacher?" Yeah. I am nominating Mrs. Dowell as a parent and as a fellow teacher. Knew this was going to happen. This year, she is my son, my son's teacher. Got to be able to see it to read it, though. Mrs. Dowell has what many of us would consider a challenging classroom this year. Behavior and attendance struggles, as well as tissue, no? Sorry, Heidi. It doesn't help you at all, I'm sure. As well as several students who are far below grade level achievement are part of this struggle. Many times as I pop in, because I'm one of those parents, I see challenges that I might walk away from as a teacher. However, Mrs. Dowell continues on. She works hard to establish genuine relationships with her students and their parents. Clearly, or I wouldn't be crying up here today. She is always available to parents and gives positive reports, phone calls, and emails in addition to the tougher calls. She stays after school to work with students and offer additional help if needed. Oftentimes, I have observed Mrs. Dowell working or just leaving the school as we are leaving the school basketball games and sporting events. For my own son, she has been a ray of encouragement. She praises his hard work and great grades, but redirects his more challenging times with positivity and reflection. They have a relationship that fosters his independence, creativity, and reflection. At first, I thought this relationship was unique to them, but as I am at school events, it has come to light that she has this relationship with many of her students and their parents. Like all great teachers, she makes each student feel like they have that one-of-a-kind relationship with her. In a school environment that can be tough, Mrs. Dowell shines a spotlight on what can make it great. Giving her this award, to me, recognizes what many of our middle schools are missing: parent communication and investing in our students. And Mrs. Dowell is a shining example of both of those. Thank you. Sorry.
I just want to thank Leslie, and I wish more of our parents were like Leslie, and Khalil is one of my shining stars in my classroom, so thank you. This is, I came into teaching later. I was nearly 40 when I got my teaching degree, so it is the reason I get up every morning in addition to my family. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and on behalf of the board, congratulations. Just another example of the many, many fine teachers and staff members and dedicated staff members that we have in our district. And thanks also to the PFT for doing this award every month to shine a light on a lot of our wonderful staff. Thank you. Are there any announcements by board members tonight? Mrs. Ross?
I don't know if it's an announcement or not, but I'm just pretty proud of an event that I went to on Saturday, which was coordinated by our own Tamara Butler, and it was the 3rd annual STEP show, and it was a class act, let me tell you. I really enjoyed that. My kids enjoyed it, and it was just wonderful. And anybody that didn't go really missed a show. It was like a Broadway thing. And so next year, hopefully you'll be able to attend, but it was very well done, very well put together. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mrs. Kostick?
To add on to that, it was held at Richwoods High School, and there was not a seat left in that school. So as I looked around, I thought, we've got to find some place that we can put all of these parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone, because it was standing room. People were standing everywhere. So I'm proposing to Dr. Lathan in public that for next year, because they promise it to be bigger and better, that when we are doing our negotiating for the graduation and things like that, that we include the day for this event to be included and to be held at Bradley, whereas everyone would be able to attend and be seated comfortably or get up and dance to your feet, and because I was definitely moving, So yeah, but it was a great, right, wobble, exactly, but it was a great event. All of the participants were fantastic. They took me way back when I used to be able to move like that, but it was a great event, and Dr. Lathan, I think we are probably going to need to look at a bigger place. Okay? Thank you.
So we're going back to Bradley.
Field trip.
Any other, Mr. Bateman?
Yes, on Saturday I also participated as one of the guest judges with Future Chefs that was held down at Lincoln. There were 8 fifth graders from 8 of our schools that participated in the Future Chef competition. There were a number of really nice snacks prepared by each one of these students. And Tylynn Johnson, I apologize, I didn't write down what school she came from, but Tylynn Johnson was from Jameson? Thomas Jefferson, excuse me, was the gold medal winner of the day. Her snack that she prepared and a presentation thereof and the recipe and all that will go forward to the regional competition. And if she's successful, then that goes on to the national competition. So it was a really, really great morning. It was great to see what the kids, the effort they put in, and on top of it was the first time that our culinary students from Woodruff Technical Training Center participated as the mentors for these young future chefs. And it was really, really well received. And I think the high school students as well as the grade school students really both received a lot from it. So I just wanted to share that. And again, congratulations to Tylen Johnson.
Thank you.
It was, just to piggyback off of Saturday, the two events, the Future Chef and also the Step and Dance Team competition. What was most moving for me as superintendent is the diversity, not only at the Future Chefs competition, but also at the Dance and Step team. Very excited and pleased that we had for the first time a student from Jameson that participated in the Future Chef contest. And then also we had students that are identified with IEPs participating in the Dance and Step competition. That's powerful as a parent to sit and when parents are able to see their children participate in activities like all other children in the district. But both events were outstanding. Very special thank you to our staff, which is another reason we're excited tonight as we move into the next part of the board agenda of Richwoods High School being here, if you don't mind me introducing them.
Do anybody else have announcements? Okay, yep. Let's move
So
ahead.
Richwoods is here. We were there. One of the things that we try to do in the district is we move district-wide events around to all of our schools. As Ms. Cossack has already said, we have outgrown now. We were ready to announce Saturday that next year's Step and Dance Team competition would be at Peoria High. They were the next school in line to host the event, but as Ms. Cossack said, we do not have the space. But sitting in the auditorium at Richwoods, we noticed that we need some additional changes there. So we're pleased tonight to have Ms. Clark and Ms. Smothers here and two of our parents here to talk about what we are planning and anticipating at Richwoods High School. Ms. Clark, Ms. Smothers.
Well, before I start, I want you to know Richwoods got first, but and I know that's not in my script. Okay.
No, she's right. That's what I wanted to say. That.
Richwoods did win.
All right. It's on your marquee. It's on the marquee. You drive down University.
Thank you.
Humility.
You the other winners, you know, or is it just
humility was not one of my stronger suits. Okay. Dr. Lathan, President Wolfmeyer, Board of Education, thank you for allowing us to provide you with information tonight about our fundraising project for the auditorium. We are very appreciative for the upgraded light and sound system and would like the opportunity to replace the outdated seats that are worn and in many cases torn. I will turn this over to Ms. June Smothers, who has taken the lead in this project for us. She also has two parents who will be assisting her with supporting our endeavors. And thank you again. And the seats are older than when I was born.
As Ms. Clark stated, thank you again for allowing us to provide you with this information about the fundraising project we'd like to do at Richwoods. The seats in the auditorium at Richwoods have dated back to 1956 when Richwoods was built. They have served their purpose well as they have provided seating for nearly 60 years of school events. Each rising ninth grade class starts the journey at Richwoods with an orientation in this very auditorium. Parents begin each year with back to school night also held in the auditorium. Fall plays, concerts, and spring musicals are also all held in the auditorium, as well as academic ceremonies such as the annual National Honor Society induction and Senior Honors Night. Our speech team and our music assembly participants use this same space to showcase their talent during annual fundraising events. Our auditorium also holds events each year for our feeder schools. At this time, we are already scheduled to host annual events for Keller and Northmore primary schools, as well as Lindbergh Middle School. One other major use of the auditorium is for training and logistical purposes by both the Richwoods staff as well as the district events. Due to this regular use over many years, our seats show their age and no longer function safely. The padding has deteriorated and the fabric has come loose, exposing the insides of the cushion. The majority of the seats no longer return to or stay in an upright position, making movement in the rows hazardous and the need for an emergency evacuation next to impossible without an accident or an injury. At this time, we would like to ask for your permission to initiate a fundraiser to replace these seats and bring some more of the pride back to the castle. This will complete our state-of-the-art upgrades for our auditorium. You have our plan here is to seek donations and private dollars amounts in the $240,000 and use those funds to purchase and install 1,200 plush comfortable chairs. We would like to use the slogan, "Leave a Legacy." We have a pamphlet prepared, we have parental support, and we will have a letter from Ms. Clark that will be sent to all of our current families as well as to community members and alumni. We'd like to use our website as a key way to communicate this, and we would like to have at least two ways to donate, via mail or in person or using the internet. We have a number of advertising strategies we would like to use, Remarkable Times, the Richwoods PTO, our concerts, as well as reaching out to our feeder schools who also use our auditorium. We have a plan to track donations and to get the documentation both to you and also back to our donors so they are recognized. And we would like to follow up upon completion with an open house to be held so that students can showcase their talents in the auditorium while people who've donated can locate the seat with a donor plaque that they can dedicate to the person of their choice. And the donation for that donor plaque, we are asking $200. That will replace a seat and provide that donor plaque. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Sarah Bloom and also Mrs. Karen Kenny, parents of Richwoods High School students, to talk about their support of the proposal.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bloom. I currently have a junior at Richwoods. I am very, very invested in this project. My daughter, not only she's part of the speech team, she's also part of the drama department, and we have spent many, many, many hours. I donate a lot of time to the programs. Just to see their faces when they got the new sound and lights this year, I have never seen enthusiasm like that with any group of kids. It was school-wide. They are very proud of the work they do in this auditorium. They want to do lots more in this auditorium, and they would like to see those new seats come in so they could provide a space and any event they do that they can show pride in their school. Right now, I have bruises to prove those seats are in very, very bad shape. I find myself saying, "Oh, don't sit in that seat. Don't sit in that seat." When people come in, "Oh, don't sit there. You want to come over here." But I am very invested in. I will do whatever it takes. I will provide services. I will host events. I will donate any time it takes to make the money to bring these new seats into this school. So, I'd like to see it happen.
Hi, my name's Carla Kenny, and sorry, I get loud sometimes, so just tell me to keep it down if I do. I'm the parent of a sophomore at Richwoods who is involved in choir, speech, and theater. I cannot emphasize enough the skills and confidence he and his fellow performers have gained through their involvement in the performing arts at Richwoods. For example, students involved in performing arts learn the skills required to be excellent public speakers and collaborators. They also understand the importance of dedication and accountability when working with others. These are but a few of the skills attained when participating in the performing arts. The students at Richwoods take great pride in representing their school. Most of their performances take place in the auditorium. It is a spacious venue with great vantage points from every seat. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, I have noticed that some of the seats look a bit torn and tattered. This is why I was thrilled when the administration at Richwoods contacted me about a plan to raise money for new auditorium seats. I am here tonight, one, to pledge my support to the administration and let them know I'll do all I can to help in the effort, and also to request the support of the board to proceed with the proposed fundraiser of new auditorium seats. Please help us provide the students with a venue they can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. I think June's got some.
Thank you. We've received great feedback and more parent volunteers have come forward. We have no doubt that we can raise this money. At this time, we ask for your support. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Do you have a timeline?
as for targeting the completion, you hope?
We would like to have this complete by the end of next year, the whole project complete, because it is the 60th year.
Okay, all right.
Mrs. Ross.
I just had a quick question
Yes.
regarding logistics. Will the donors be donating to the PTO or to the foundation in the name of Richwoods? Where will they be?
At this time, it is that is still to be determined, but at this time, it's planned to be donated to the district.
Okay. Okay.
Did you?
Yes, a question. I had the same question. So this would be a direct contribution to the school district itself rather than the foundation? Is that the way that's established?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And then they receive a receipt for that. Okay.
Yes.
Is there any plan to reach out to some of the classes that have their own? For example, our class has a website, and we have some other things there that reach a large number of people.
Yes.
And we have class reunions coming up and things like that, where I think that might make a very nice gift, especially
Yes.
for those celebrating our 50th class reunion next year.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So there might be an opportunity to bring that to the attention of the people that do that, so that that's considered part of a challenge that might go as appropriate for every class that has that. And I don't know if you have a record of all those or those websites, but there are people that do that and maintain it, and it's pretty well done. So I would encourage you to do that, and I spent many an hour on that stage with a couple of different organizations, and it was great to be there. So I wish you well, and I certainly support it.
Thank you.
I may have missed this, but you have a Facebook page set up right now?
We have use of two spaces. We would ask our PTO through their Facebook page, and they have agreed that they would send that out for us. We have also looked into the possibility of sending it out through the District 150 page just at the beginning with an update along the way. We have looked at the possibility of setting up a Facebook page for the project, and that's still on the table.
Yeah, I would recommend that. And I'm just thinking about my own friends, and I have several people that were for manholes, all performing the choir. I mean, I think they have brothers and parents that don't hear about this project. They're like, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, but it's, yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Costa.
Just a quick question. The $240,000, is that the total for the chairs, or is there a starting amount that you have, and this is the remainder?
This is the total. It's projected total based on the early estimates that we've received. $200 per chair is installed.
They don't have any money. What she said, no, your answer is no, you do not have any money, and this is the remaining. They have nothing.
That's what I
No. Thank you, Dr. Lathan. No, we don't have any money.
That's a great idea. You have some Richwood alumni around this horseshoe. Maybe they'll start it for you. You never know.
I'm Peoria High.
So am I. Me too.
Don't worry, we have a project for Peoria High next, so.
All right, you chick.
Oh, did you hear something?
I did. Thank you.
So this will be an action item at the next meeting so that we can take formal action to approve this? Okay. Thank you very much. Exciting project.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I would like to make a note about Peoria High, since we're talking. We did make changes at Richwoods as it relates to the lighting and sound system. It was electrical, and we needed to make that. We do have some work that we must do under safety at Peoria High that the district will need to take care of. So then beyond that, the alumni might want to look at some other enhancements for Peoria High School. But we need to do something safety-wise, and so we've talked about that as a school.
There was talk about the stage at various high schools.
Peoria High, that's the issue, is the Peoria High is its
So
stage.
Richwood Sound and Peoria High stage.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the February 23rd, 2015 meeting?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costa?
Abstain? Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. We are now at audience opportunity to address the board. As a reminder, this is a business meeting of the Board of Education held in public, not a public meeting. It is not a question and answer session, and it is not a debate, so there will be no response from the horseshoe unless one of us has comments once the audience comments are completed. Recognizing everyone's First Amendment rights, we still ask that you refrain from speaking about subjects or topics relating directly to district personnel and also those not germane to the Board of Education's authority. We also ask that you refrain from using inappropriate language and keep a civil tone to your remarks. Please also keep in mind that just because something can be said does not necessarily mean that it should be said. When you are recognized, please come to the podium and give your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. No one under 18 years of age may address the board unless accompanied by a parent, guardian, or a teacher without the consent of the majority of the board. Board members are also available by phone and/or email. This contact information is available on the district website and in the school calendars that parents receive from their school. Sharon Cruz.
Academic success requires that teachers be free to teach and students free to learn without distracting discipline problems. Think about how much teaching and learning time is lost with every disruption. First, all of you must admit to the severity of the problems and then acknowledge that your expensive programs to encourage students to behave are not working. Positive reinforcements cannot be ignored, but their impact without a large dose of meaningful, consistent consequences are futile. District policies prevent students from receiving immediate consequences to their behaviors. Warnings and paperwork are required before referrals to remove students can be written. This process is causing great harm to the learning environment and to the students themselves by allowing them to play games with the system. Please allow your hardworking teachers to explain how your policies take away so much precious teaching time. One disruptive student will enlist the help of other students, and the class is destroyed. All schools are suffering. Lincoln School suffered by your piling in students from a wide geographic area due to the closing of Kingman and Irving. Not only didn't the students know each other, but Lathan's choice for principal knew nothing about Peoria and little or nothing about the children or their families. Lathan's fruit basket upset of principals put many at schools where they do not know the families, the children, or the teachers. I requested the activity logs of Lincoln's campus police officer. Of course, many discipline problems are not handled by the campus police. These logs do not provide a referral's detailed account of student behavior. The logs reveal that one officer is definitely overworked. Behaviors seem to require that he spend the bulk of the school day in the 7th and 8th grade hallways, where teachers evidently require considerable help. Who helps with the K-4 students and most of the time the 5th to 6th students? In most buildings, and probably unfairly so, the men are expected to heed the call quite often by women teachers to stop fights. Lincoln has only 3 male classroom teachers, 2nd grade, 4th grade, and 8th grade. Behaviors at Lincoln appear to be bad enough to require that students be escorted by class from one area of the school to another class to lunch or gym, for example. Lincoln isn't alone. It's time for a change and for you to take a stand to save this district or be replaced. It isn't your job to support the superintendent at the expense of our district, its teachers, its students, and its finances. Thank you.
Terry Knapp.
Yes, I was kind of amused by the presentation on the seats at Richwoods. Sat here and everybody talks about the litigious situation that is there. The seats are falling apart. People can fall down and get hurt. I suggest, Mr. Attorney, you advise them they now have a problem if somebody does get hurt out there and they haven't done something about it except wait for the parents of the students at Richwoods to put in new seats. I would also say Woodruff was not mentioned. Woodruff's seats went in 1937 and have not been replaced or doctored since then. 1937. Is this the role model for our district? Second thing I'd like to mention is Mr. Meisinger, who was principal at Richwoods, Mr. Farkash, who was principal at Manual and also spent some time here on Wisconsin Avenue, are touring and came to Parda with an explanation of the progress of the district under Lathan. It was appalling. 100 teachers at a luncheon sat there with their mouth open looking at those particular statistics put out by the state of Illinois. If you haven't seen it, you need to invite those people here to show it to you, because obviously Lathan hasn't showed it to you, but it's ghastly, and you need to be aware of it. As they tour the city, you'll be the only ones not aware of it. Another thing I'd like to say, you're going to be entertained here in a little bit with comments by some parents who have homeschooled their child. Not trying to preempt them. I know, Mr. Bateman, you've had preschooling or homeschooling of your child. It is terrible that we have not, first of all, invited Apache here to explain and try to recruit these students back into the school system, but it's even worse when you get students coming to the school system that are experiencing very big difficulties and nothing is being done about it. And I hope that these people get up here and tell you in a bit about that. Next thing I'd like to talk about is Quest already, the charter school Quest. I went by Beechlers the other day, and the sign out in front said, in lights, Quest accepting applications. Since when does Quest accept applications? They have a lottery system. They want to accept applications so they can screen the applications. That's what we're into already in the second 5 years. Co-opting with another school outside the district and paying our taxpayer money to provide football coaches and things to other schools, football equipment to other schools with Peoria taxpayer dollars when they could be playing at Manual Central or Richwoods is ridiculous. I said that before, and of course they waited until after you gave them the 5-year extension, and now they've got a 5-year plan to co-op with football, sending our students out of Peoria. It's ridiculous. I don't get it. 75 kids are supposed to be in each class at Quest. The lottery system is supposed to replace them as they drop out. Is that happening? No. That's been brought to you before. None of this is happening. The barn door is open.
Is it working? Okay. The timer's not working. Okay. We'll let you know when you get your 3 minutes in. Allison Oswald.
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. I would like you to tell our story and express our concerns to you as parents. We are a past homeschooling family that entered the public school system last January. I homeschooled my children for 14 years because we lived in an area in which schools were failing, and I didn't feel comfortable having them in those schools. Last January, we made a decision to make a change, and we carefully researched all the schools in District 150. We read up on the stats and scores and made a decision to uproot our family and move homes to be in a better area for a better school. Staying in 150 area was important to us because we have a biracial family and we wanted the diversity. We entered the Keller, Lindbergh, and Richwood area. At Keller and at Richwoods, we've had wonderful experience. We have 2 children at Keller and 1 child at an IB program at Richwoods, and the teachers are wonderful, the staff is wonderful, the quality of education is wonderful. I have nothing but amazing, wonderful things to say, and it's exceeded my expectations, especially as a homeschooling parent. However, at Lindbergh Middle School, we have not had that experience. Since we entered in January of 2014, we have an 8th grader, at the time 7th grader, that has experienced 2 assaults. In January of last year, it was a sexual assault at an activity at the school. And in January of this year, it was a physical assault in which she received a concussion, blurred vision for over 2 weeks, and is still having headaches from it. Unfortunately, I can't get the year back. My child has entered the system and has been affected permanently from the things that have happened to her. The teachers are wonderful at Lindbergh. The leadership is good at Lindbergh. However, I was not aware that there had been changes from the statistics that I had been reading and researching at Lindbergh from the No Child Left Behind, and the demographics and situations at the school had changed, discipline had changed, and the school is really out of control. The classes are not well managed, and I don't really feel it's the teachers' fault. I feel like we haven't given the teachers the resources and training they need to be able to manage the classes. They're kind of overwhelmed and they're trying to catch up. With the sexual assault that happened last January, obviously, it was a very scary thing that happened to our daughter. She did not tell us right away. We found out several months later. As soon as we found out, we immediately reported it to the school district as soon as the principal was in the office. And however, nothing was done as a result. We decided not to press charges because of the time frame in between, but no internal report was done by the principal. The parents were not even notified of the two boys that attacked her, that their sons had done this inappropriate behavior. And obviously my daughter was severely emotionally affected because of this. Very concerned that I don't know what the policies are. I don't understand all that. I don't know what a principal is supposed to do or what a teacher is supposed to do in that case, but I'm very concerned that nothing was done. In the example of the physical assault, they did do a good job of reporting it. We reported it to the police, did all the things that we needed to do. They have implemented a bullying program. I do not feel...
Excuse me, that's your 3 minutes.
Okay.
but
Can I...
Your husband is next if he wants to finish up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam President and Board, it's very emotional for us because of what we've gone through. And you have to understand that as homeschooling parents, we have very negative impressions of public school. It's just what happens. We have been blown away by Principal Turner, the teachers at Keller. We've been blown away by how great the IB program is. And to be honest, my daughter's teachers, or my two daughters' teachers at Lindbergh have been great. But what wasn't told to you is following this sexual assault, my daughter didn't tell me about this. Things started piling up. As parents, we started becoming very concerned. She started cutting, different behaviors like that. We took her to a doctor. We did all of these things. And then in December of this year, she attempted suicide. Now, I understand that it's hard to know because there are so many good things that are happening. And it's hard to know when one bad thing happens. But I think this bad thing needs to have some light put to it. And I think that we need to see that inertia doesn't take hold and that no changes are made. We want from the board, we want from the school some assurance of the safety for our daughter. We've kept our 8th grade daughter there because she's going into the IB program next year and we don't want to mess with her academics. We want to keep that in place. And I will admit that the teachers seem to be looking out for her now because of what's happened to her. But it shouldn't have happened once. It definitely shouldn't have happened twice. Her physical assault was during gym class with 80 students and 4 teachers. She was beaten by a student, had her head slammed against the bleachers, and was literally drugged from the bleachers to the mid-court line before any teacher was able to intervene. The first teacher that attempted to intervene was not physically strong enough. She was a female teacher of small stature. The second teacher, the male teacher that got there, was actually able to pull this 12-year-old child away. That 12-year-old child is still at Lindbergh. I don't want anything bad for her. But I don't want my daughter to be exposed to that every single day. We ask that the board look at that and you take consideration. As an attorney, I understand that oftentimes institutions only get moved when there's threats from the outside. That's not us. We're coming to plead with you to do something. This isn't because we want to cause problems. We want to fix a problem, and we're asking for your help to do that.
Mr. Delinsky, would you please be sure and talk to them so that we can get the details and get all the information so that we can look at it? Thank you. Thank you very much. Savino Sierra.
Sabina Sierra from the far south side. I just want to say I love everybody, but I just don't like some of the people's ways, and that's a honest statement. Now we're going to have a election pretty soon, and I hope we see some new faces, and then at the next election we'll see some more new faces, because I hate to say it, but this district has been going down instead of coming up, and you're spending too much money on these programs, and you can't even fix one that you buy and make that work, so you buy another one, and you keep going, and you still, you know, the kids are still not making the scores, you know, what they're supposed to be making. What you people do a lot of times is that you confuse these people, you know. They might not be ready for all this, you know. You're trying to push into their tender minds, you know what I mean? Now, these young kids even want to teach them sex education, you know. You're trying to take their innocence away and all that. They'll find out. They probably know more about that stuff than you people ever heard of, and that goes with the cuss words too. But we got to take a new direction, and we're going to fight it one of these days from the top on down. And I just want to tell you that I'm waiting for that day. I hope I don't pass away before that happens. But listen to what your elders tell you. You know what I mean? Don't be so darn stubborn. I was going to say damn, but I use darn. Listen to what your elders tell you. You know, they've lived a little longer and experienced a lot more too. So try that sometime, and it might help you make your decisions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go Manuel.
Kathleen Deffenbaugh.
I want to say that I left too early, it seems, last meeting, and I apologize for that. And I wanted to give a high five to Ms. Ross and Mr. Cloyd for standing up for something that this district should be very embarrassed by. And I was really sorry that I didn't get to see it, although I did go back and watch it. And I want to say to Mrs. Kostick, the way that you said that you weren't going to have a pissing match with your fellow board members, I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's exactly what we need to see more of around the horseshoe. We need to see people get involved and discuss and have opinions other than constantly rubber stamping the superintendent. Because that's what, 18 months, that's what we've seen, at least through my eyes. I don't see that around the horseshoe. There's no discussion where someone comes out and says, I totally disagree with you people. And that's what we need to see. Because everybody can't agree on everything. We know better. Terry stood up here and was talking about a meeting and information, and I actually have some of it. The graduation rate of District 150 compared to the state average from 2010 to 2014, it was at 90% when Dr. Lathan came to this district. Ladies and gentlemen, it is at 68.20. The state average is 86%. The graduation and chronic truancy rates from 2010 to 2014 was 90% when she arrived, 68.2% for graduation. Truancy was 4.4%, ladies and gentlemen. It's at 27.1. If they're not in class, they're not learning. If you guys continue the direction that this district is going, I don't know what you expect, but more and more families are going to leave the city. We are going to continue to see what we're seeing get worse. You cannot sit there meeting after meeting and not address these problems. And you're right, there is an election coming April 7th. And I guarantee you that the 2 new board members that will be seated will not be yes women and yes men. There will be change in this district. It's coming.
Jeff Atkins-Dutro.
Jeff Atkins-Dutro, President of the Peoria Federation of Teachers. I have some questions for you to consider. The schools that were closed and combined, was there a sound transition plan? Have these mergers been successful? Do larger schools have the support they need? Have the mergers improved student achievement? Every principal in our district except one has been transferred. Was there a sound transition plan, and were logistical supports in place for the 26 schools impacted? Have those leadership changes improved student achievement? Millions of dollars have been spent on programs, assessments, travel to conferences. Is there a direct correlation between these dollars and an increased graduation rate, decreased truancy, reduction in teacher turnover, or an improvement in our schools' rankings? Are all principals highly qualified instructional leaders who effectively utilize the evaluation tool to coach teachers to improve their instructional practice? Does the administration encourage and foster frank discussions about data, the good and the bad? Are principals and teachers encouraged to identify problems and to work together to solve them? Does the superintendent spend a great deal of time in our community promoting a positive image for our district while encouraging a collaborative efforts between our district and the community? Do members of the board? Are our schools safe? Are discipline expectations high? Are the necessary supports in place to help students live up to high expectations? Are there creative and effective alternatives to suspensions? Is every effort being made to recruit, to hire, and to retain highly qualified teachers? Is there a sound support system for new teachers? Does your administration have quality, collaborative relationships with the district's labor leaders? Does the administration work hard to tackle issues in an effort to avoid grievances and costly arbitrations and to reduce hours billed by your external law firm? Does your central administration have the infrastructure and professional skill sets necessary to ensure we are well on our way to becoming a world-class district? Is our district going to critically examine where we are at the end of our 2011 through 2014 strategic plan? Are you going to make necessary changes? Are you going to collaborate with the Peoria Federation of Teachers to construct out-of-the-box solutions to problems? Are we going to work together to set a high bar in order to get us on the pathway to becoming a world-class district? Thank you.
Thank you. Do board members have any response to audience comments?
You bet.
Mr. Bateman?
First of all, I'd like to address the PHA thing. I came in late on a flight last week and arrived at 6:30, actually 5 o'clock in Springfield, and arrived in here straight at 6:30 last board meeting. And unfortunately did not have the opportunity to read an email that had been forwarded to all board members on Friday. I had been out of the state for about 4 days. Following both the information in that email and subsequent conversations with people who I happen to know through the PHA, it came to light that the PHA was the one who made the call that we should not open the doors, that they knew the electricity was going to be back on. So the district has been vilified, Dr. Lathan has been vilified wrongly, and I'd like to go on record by apologizing to you for not, A, being prepared when I walked in the door, and C, speaking up to it. Now, on the flip side of that, we do as a district have an obligation to have the doors prepared to be open. We need to have plans in place to ensure that when those come up, that we are prepared to activate that plan and we have the steps in place to do so. I would hope we're reviewing that, looking at that. But again, that comes down to the PHA or any other organization having their emergency plans well in place and then collaborating with us on how to activate. Second, Ms. Deffenbaugh, I believe is your last name, brought up the truancy piece. Again, if anybody took the time to truly understand and look at the nature of and the definition of the truancy, yes, it was 4% in 2010. Yes, it is 27% today. If you took just a few minutes and read the information that's in the Illinois report card, you would find that in 2012, the definition from 18 to 9 days was changed for chronic truancy. Our chronic truancy rate went from 6% in 2011 to 25% in 2012 when the definition was changed, and the only thing that was changed was that definition. If you look at it over that 5-year period, truthfully speaking, there's been no significant change in chronic truancy. Having said that, is truancy a problem? Yes, it is. We need to make sure we've got the students in the seats. It impacts our finances, and we need to do everything we can. It shows up large in our strategic plan and the feedback we've received from the community. I would expect that that would be a very integral part of the strategic planning process and the action plans that we will look towards and for from the administration to put plans in place. But saying that, you know, it's a funny thing about statistics. If you don't understand the definitions and what goes into them, you can twist them any way you want. And I'd encourage you all to understand what goes into them and how they're interpreted. Thank you.
Mrs. Ross?
I just want to kind of dovetail a little bit on the truancy issue. I don't know if you know that when you talk about discipline in school and how unruly the children are, but those kids that are suspended, if they're suspended for 10 days for an issue or for an infraction, that student is counted as a truant because it's more than 9 days. Those students that we expel, which every board meeting is at least 20 or 25, those students are counted as a truant. So those numbers are going to go up as we fulfill our discipline duties. So I'm not sure which one you'd like to have, a lower truancy or a higher addressing the discipline problems. So, I mean, you know, the numbers are there and the numbers speak for themselves, so I'm not sure. I mean, we don't make the rules. If they're out of school more than 9 days, they're truant, whether we put them out or whether they decide to be out. That's all.
Mr. Cloyd?
Yes. What I spoke about earlier, can I bring that up now because it seems to be part of the time? 3 things. One is in relation to the parents that spoke about their trauma to their child. I'd like to have a report on that at the next meeting as to what the outcome of that was, if we could please, not in public, but I know that we have opportunities to have that discussion. That number 2 is the issue of the graduation rate. Dr. Lathan, I believe the definition in the state of Illinois of graduation has changed. It used to be the number of students that graduate as seniors. In other words, if you start out with 1,000 seniors and 900 of them graduate, that's 90%. The state now counts if you start out with 1,000 freshmen and the number that graduate. Is that correct? So that the cohort of students is the calculation. So that number has changed. That doesn't mean it's good, but I say that the comparison that's being made there is incorrect. That's number 1. Number 2, the issue of chronic truancy, and I'd like to speak to that for a moment. The definition of that has also changed. It used to be 18 days you were chronically truant, and now it's 9 days. So at our February 9th meeting, the board saw a presentation on truancy, and I learned from our truancy statistics that it also includes students who have been suspended and or expelled. If the student has more than 9 unexcused absences, they're considered chronically truant. Subsequently, I met with Ms. Tan and Mr. Salzman to get more detail because truancy data is an important indicator of the district's environment. And I'm sharing this information because it can be easily misrepresented or misinterpreted. In the first semester of this school year, about 4% of the total available student days of non-attendance were truant. About 3.5% of that number, or 86.5% of the total, was due to unexcused absences. 0.5% were due to suspensions. Therefore, approximately 13.5% of our first semester truancy statistic was due to suspensions. Now, my personal view is that if a student is not allowed to attend due to disciplinary action, it does not make sense to count that as truancy. My belief is that most school districts do not include suspensions in their truancy statistics, but I don't have any facts to support that conclusion. Additionally, excused absences accounted for 2.5% of non-attendance, and that is not included in our truancy data. So combining 4% truancy and 2.5% excused absences, we arrive at a non-attendance rate of 6.5%. This is the average for the entire first semester of this school year, which means our attendance rate was approximately 93.5% for the first semester. Does that help put that in perspective? The 27% that's cited as a chronic truancy rate does not mean that 27% of our students are not in school every day, and to represent otherwise is completely false and frankly dishonest. This is the data. If you want to find out more about it, I'm sure we can provide more detail on this, but what we're dealing here with is an attendance rate of about 93.5%, including all excused and unexcused absences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members? Thank you. That brings us to information items, purchase orders over $2,500. Are there any questions for Mr. Wilcoxon? Seeing none, we have reported requests under the Freedom of Information Act and status of such requests.
Since our last board meeting report on February 23rd, 2015, we received 6 new Freedom of Information Act requests. Of these new requests, 4 were filled. There were 5 pending requests noted on the February 23rd, 2015 board report. Those requests were filled. We received 28 requests for this calendar year.
Thank you. That brings us to the consent agenda. Reverend Butler, do you want to talk about the gift to the school district, a substantial gift today?
Yes, Mrs. Wolfmeyer. Item number 1 is gifts to the school district. This meeting, the gift totaled $3,500. Year-to-date is $47,111.83. And the proposed action is that the following donations be accepted and letters of appreciation sent to the donors. And that one gift was a 1993 Ford Probe GT donated to the Woodruff Career and Technical Center.
Thank you. The rest of the consent agenda consists of the payment of bills, the Human Resources Report. The proposed action is the appointment, employment, compensation, performance, resignation, retirement, or discharge of an employee. Payment for travel. Number 5 is a field trip approval for the Peoria High Student Council. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for Peoria High School Student Council grades 9 to 12 to attend the Illinois Association of Student Councils annual state convention in Lombard, Illinois, May 7th through the 9th of 2015. Student cost for this trip is $30 to help cover the cost of food and hotel rooms. No student will be denied attendance due to inability to pay. Item 6 is another field trip approval for the Peoria High Student Council. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for Peoria High School Student Council grades 9 to 12 to attend the Student Council retreat in St. Louis, Missouri, April 10th through April 11th. The student cost for this trip is $30 to help cover the cost of food and hotel rooms. No student will be denied attendance due to inability to pay. Number 7, field trip approval for the Manual Academy Avid students. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for select Avid 9th through 12th grade students from Manual Academy per board policy 6:240. Students will travel to St. Louis, Missouri on April 10th, visiting Harris Stowe University to gain exposure to a college community as well as a college tour. Presentations by Student Services and the Financial Aid Department. This trip meets the requirements of the AVID program, which provides exposure to college and assistance with academics and admission to first-generation college students. The trip will be funded by Title I. Number 8 is a field trip approval for Harrison 8th grade students. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for 8th grade Harrison students to travel to St. Louis, Missouri on Friday, May 15th, 2015 to tour Harris-Stowe University and outdoor classroom day at Six Flags per board policy 6:240. Students will travel to St. Louis, Missouri on May 15th, visiting Harris-Stowe University to gain exposure to academic and college life, and then travel to Six Flags Outdoor Classroom Day to reinforce the correlation between academic and personal achievement. Student participation is based on the completion of park assessments. Fundraising revenue will pay for all students attending. Item 9 is a field trip approval for the Peoria High physics classes. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for Peoria High School physics classes to travel to Six Flags, St. Louis, Missouri, April 24th, 2015. Per board policy 6:240, the students will be participating in the physics day, putting the laws of physics to the test with an attraction-centric course. The trip is being funded through Title I. No student will be denied attendance due to inability to pay. And item 10 is a field trip approval for the Lindbergh 8th grade class trip. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the field trip for Lindbergh 8th grade students to travel to Six Flags in St. Louis, Missouri, May 20th, per board policy 6:240. Students will need to meet certain eligibility requirements promoting attendance and good behavior. The cost of the trip is $60 per student. No student will be denied attendance due to inability to pay. Are there any of these consent items that a board member would like pulled for a separate vote? Could I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Did you want to comment on any of these? A lot of these field trips are trips that are taken every year, am I correct?
Yes.
Are there questions?
Ms.
Mr.
Wilmeyer?
Floyd?
Yes, and on the POs, the purchase orders are, at this point, purchase orders, and they're not in the payment of bills. They're two different things, right?
Correct.
Okay. If we could, I wanted to go back just to highlight something in the POs, but we can do that after this if you'd like. Just, I had
Go
a
ahead.
question. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Wilcoxon, the item in the purchase orders was the school bus equipment, and that's a rather substantial number, so I think it bears discussion a little bit. Could you elaborate on that? Are you prepared to discuss that in at least minute detail?
Sure.
Or not so minute? But
Well, as much detail as you'd like.
He's just asking for information.
Pardon me?
No, he's asking for information on POs over 2,500, not the payment of bills,
Not
correct?
the payment of bills. This is
Yeah.
on the POs, so I'm sorry, I'm stepping back just one item, just to clarify that if you don't mind.
Sure. This PO is for the purchase of 30 new buses. We're buying them off of the state purchasing contract, which is allowed by the school code. The expenditure, net expenditure is $900,000, and we've estimated a payback of about 4 years on these. These buses that we're actually trading in are high-maintenance buses. Some of them aren't even operating now. We can't get them to operate. Many of these we won't take out of town because they're not dependable. And we're buying smaller buses. So Josh Collins has done a great job of identifying bus routes that could actually use smaller buses. These are gasoline-powered buses, so they burn cheaper fuel. They get better gas mileage. So that contributes to the payback too. And when you figure the repair savings, the fuel savings, and additional transportation reimbursement, the payback is 4 years. So it's, and they're air conditioned, so we can take some of these buses out of town on trips where we've actually chartered buses in the past. So it's kind of
What's the capacity of those buses compared to the current ones?
These are 27, 28 passenger, depending if they have the child restraint systems in for the smaller children. Josh, you're replacing 70 passenger buses?
That's correct. 71 passenger buses is what these are replacing.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for that, and I think that makes a lot of sense considering the passenger load on some of those buses. So thank you for your forbearance in bringing that up.
Just to follow up on it, how long is it? It's been a while since we purchased buses.
We've purchased buses in the past. We bought some last year, but we tended to buy used buses, which have 4 or 5 years on them before we actually start using them. So these are new buses, so the life will be much longer for us.
Okay.
When will they show up?
May to July, I think, is.
Correct. 3 of them we're anticipating in May. The rest we're anticipating toward the end of June.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate going back on that.
Okay.
With regards to maintenance on those, are there any common parts in that we currently have on hand that will be usable on the new ones, or is that a new PLL that we have to get on hand for those?
Currently, we're looking into that now to see what parts we have currently in stock that we can use and what parts we should stock. The most common parts that we're looking at stocking would be the tires, obviously because they're a different size than what we're normally running now. But most of the parts as far as the school bus equipment itself will be interchangeable to a certain degree.
Thank you.
If we won't need any parts if they're new.
Ms. Costick?
Does that include the audio, the cameras?
We're going to be moving
Equipment.
the cameras. I'm sorry. We're going to be moving the camera systems from the buses that we're trading in to the new vehicles. So we're going to reuse a lot of that equipment.
Okay. Now, the new buses that are coming in, are we putting cameras in those, or are we just moving the cameras from the old ones into as many of the new ones?
Correct. We're moving the camera systems out of the buses that we're trading into the new ones.
I understand that.
Sure.
Are we purchasing additional cameras?
No, we're not.
Okay.
But just keep in mind, last year we installed new cameras because we'd had issues in the past. So last January 2014, we installed new cameras. So we do have advanced systems on the buses now for us cameras. On all the buses. On all the buses, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Brings us back to the consent agenda. Were there any other questions or comments by board members on the consent agenda? Seeing none, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costi?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Bateman?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
790, motion carries.
That brings us to deliberation agenda and the discipline.
Review of suspensions. Proposed action that the review of suspension listed on the report dated March 9, 2015 be approved as presented.
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costi?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
Mr. Bateman?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
790, motion carries.
Revocation of board probation. Proposed action that the revocation of board probation listed on the report dated March 9, 2015 be approved as presented.
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costi?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
Mr. Bateman?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
790, motion carries.
Expulsions. Proposed action that the expulsions listed on the report dated March 9, 2015 be approved as presented.
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costi?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
Mr. Bateman?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
790, motion carries.
Students expelled by the board are referred to by number, thereby ensuring privacy. Board action concerning the students has been decided in executive session. Number 14, revocation of expulsions held in abeyance. Proposed action that the revocation of expulsions held in abeyance listed on the report dated March 9, 2015 be approved as presented.
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costi?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
Mr. Bateman?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
790, motion carries.
Thank you. Do we have any presentations or suggestions by board members tonight?
I don't know if, oh, you just want to have a presentation?
No, no.
That's just the chart.
I don't have necessarily I have a request though for a presentation. I attended, Ms. Costick and I, as a matter of fact, attended the Elite Boot Camp, and that was Friday evening, I think. And I was just amazed at how many students were there, of course, from all the different high schools, and also we had the Tree Wind and Harrison Academy there as well, Elite Academy. And they're just doing such great things. I would like to have a presentation. We've had presentations on all of the programs. I'd like to see a presentation, or have a presentation on the elite programs and how they're working in the schools. Of course, the high school elite program doesn't cost us anything. They have tons of volunteers that go into the schools and work with the students and coordinate them and that. and those kids were so excited for being there. There's some musicals being put together around the elite, and all of the kids are going to be in this elite rap, and that'll be coming out pretty soon. So there's a young man who graduated from Bradley and actually put it together. He's kind of well known in the city, I guess.
Josiah Williams.
Josiah Williams, and he has a CD already out on the city of Peoria, and so that's kind of neat too. But now he's doing one, real personable one for the elite in the work that they do. A couple of judges were the speakers, and they're just excited about everybody getting involved to help young people move forward. So I'd like to have a presentation from them.
Okay. Anything else? Suggestions or presentations by board members? Okay, committee reports?
Yes, the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee will be meeting this Thursday, March 12th, at 5 o'clock here at the Administration Building.
We will be having a policy meeting on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.